got a number of requests pertaining to our food mitigation for this year. And we thought it is better that we have a briefing session. Some of you have questions which you want to put to me, and I will let you put those questions to me directly so that we can interact. But let me preface this by saying that 2022-23 was a good year in terms of crop production in this country. And the government is not importing food for distribution to beneficiaries. And yet there are pockets in this country, even in a good year, where you will always have food insecurity. And because of that, exercises are done by government in order to isolate those areas where there is food insecurity, although there might be food abundance in the country. Certain areas of Zimbabwe will always have food insecurity, or households will have food insecurity. So we program ourselves based on that. And I thought I should say this as a way of introduction, but I'll give the floor to the one who has been asking me over the phone. And I said, I cannot answer these critical questions over the phone. And I'm very happy that most of you have come and you represent the critical mass that can inform our people.
Thank you, Minister. Just to you believe that there are pockets that could be food insecure. From your analysis, what is the population looking like for those who are food insecure? I asked this with reports coming through that there could be 2.7 million, representing 26% of the country's population, food insecure, especially during the lean period.
Yes. You know, we conduct a scientific assessment through what is called the Zimbabwe Vulnerability Assessment, which is led by the Food and Nutrition Council, which is under the President, Office of the President and Cabinet. This is an inclusive assessment which takes a whole of government approach, and in some cases a whole of society approach, and all our cooperating partners in the UN system and some bilaterals also participate in this food vulnerability assessment. And it is that assessment which was done in 2023, which indicated that in fact we still have food insecure households, and this amounts to 2.7% of the population. But that population of 26% is down from 38%, which was there in the previous year. So we are addressing that, particularly during the drought season or the food insecure season. January to March is always a food insecure period. That does not mean that we are starting to distribute right now. During the year, where there were distress incidences, we sent food to a lot of areas where either through the civil protection systems led at the district level by the district development coordinators with participation from all ministries, particularly the Department of Social Development. We receive food insecure distress calls and we react to those, but those are spot distributions. This time when we are distributing, it is systematic in the sense that we already know which areas have been identified as food insecure. And in each district, we also know how many people that contribute to that 2.7 million people who we need to distribute food to.
Maybe again, coming through, Minister, you say you systematically. How much is required, both in terms of metric tons, probably financially, to close that gap?
Well, in the assessment, we already know the numbers and the tonnage, and we work very closely with the Ministry of Agriculture. And the tonnage this year is about 71,000 plus metric tons that is needed. And in terms of resource envelope, in terms of financial resource envelope, which must go for transportation of that food, which must go to make sure that the distribution is done, is about 43 billion. That is needed. And these amounts are put in our budgeting for 2024.
Lastly, what will be the impact of the El Nino as we go into the 2024, and also given that the rain season will be short and harvest might be low?
Yes. You know, our people react very in curious ways. When people were experiencing this very prolonged dry season, they started thinking that hunger has already arrived. Yet we were looking at 2023-2024 season. And the 2022-2023 season, as I said, we had good rains and we had good production. So the El Nino impact will only be felt after May, June, in terms of food insecurity. We will be able to know exactly whether this El Nino has affected food production and to what extent. So exercises will also begin with food assessment, crop assessment by the Ministry of Agriculture, and they will be looking throughout the year this season to see the impact of this El Nino. So we cannot predict for right now how much we will be needing. As you can see, sometimes this El Nino, if people plant very well, you can actually defeat the impact of El Nino. If you plant short varieties of crops, you can actually overcome this El Nino. If you also in the regions that are normally very dry areas, if we start planting traditional crops, we can actually defeat the deeper impact of El Nino. So it is now a management issue, and as you see, the Minister of Agriculture is all over the country trying to make sure that people understand that even with El Nino, we can still pull through. And I think in some parts of the country, we will be able to pull through. But El Nino has many impacts. It has floods, and it has high winds in some cases, and we are already starting to experience that. But that, when it happens, is a shock. It's a shock that is taken care of by the Civil Protection Unit in the Ministry of Local Government. Of course, when that shock happens, it can have health implications, it can have food insecure implications, it can have a number of implications, it can have disease like cholera that we are experiencing. So that is no longer handled by the ministry alone. It is handled by the Civil Protection Unit in the Ministry of Local Government, but it means all the impacted ministries will have to chip in order to overcome that shock. Yes.
Okay. Honorable Minister, whenever government is rolling out programs like food distribution exercises, there are normally allegations that the food is distributed along partisan political grounds. What measures have you put in place to address this?
Yes, that accusation sometimes prevails, sometimes uninformed, maybe in very few cases well informed. And we prepare for food distribution by having big workshops. We had a workshop in Masingo to prepare for this and to give guidelines. Those guidelines which we give, we don't just do it by ourselves. This year we are going to distribute into 56 of the 60 districts. That distribution will be done directly by government. And in the 4 districts that we have identified to work with partners like World Food Program and its cooperating partners, we make sure that in both cases, the distribution system must be the same. So the structure of our distribution system is already captured in our drought mitigation systems. We have at national level the committee which looks after drought, which is chaired in this ministry, but it's a subcommittee of the the environment and disaster risk management system that is chaired by the Minister of Local Government. It is at the provincial level, the ministers of state for devolution are responsible with their secretaries of devolution. They are responsible for planning at the provincial level. At the district level, there is a district development coordinator who looks after the distribution system, and he chairs that committee. Now, it is cascaded to the ward levels, where, as you know, the ward level is chaired by a chief or a headman. Those officers of government work with the chiefs and the headmen in order to make sure that no one and no place is left behind. We have over 290 chiefs. We have over 500 headmen. And then the village head, who are over 35,000, are also mainstreamed to make sure they know which households are food insecure. And there is no village head who can end up saying, I'm not going to give you because of political persuasion. Headmen and chiefs look after the village head, look after every Zimbabwean, because every Zimbabwean who is hungry has to get food. So, yes, you will have accusations, and we try to eliminate all those accusations by making sure that there is a lot of training. The Department of Social Development, headed here by the director, has already cascaded that training. They have looked for people, mostly graduates, who are there, who they are training now to make sure that they do the selection process together with the structures that I have said, but it is done using guidelines. Those guidelines, you can look at them yourself, and you can see that we try to make sure that every Zimbabwean who needs food is catered for. Yes.
I just wanted to find out estimates. How many tons do you have like in stock for vulnerable households? And how many people you are looking for to assist in?
Yeah, boss. Oh, okay. I can repeat. I said we are looking at 2.7 million people. This is a percentage of 26%, is down from 38%, which was in the previous year, because there was an improvement in our production of food in this country, and we are not importing this food for giving to vulnerable groups. It is in our strategic reserves, and we have allocated, as I said, 71,500 tons, which the Ministry of Agriculture through GMB has already assured us is there for our distribution.
Do you have like a period where you want to start this program, or you're saying when in May, June, you assess the impacts? That's when you're going to start.
This 2.6 is based on the food production of 2022-2023, and the shortages in household, not universal shortage in Zimbabwe, but even when you have plenty, there are some households which remain food insecure. So this is what we have planned for January, February, March, because that is normally your peak hunger period, even when you have plenty. If we don't have plenty, those are the months also where we are giving food to the most of the people. That's why we call them the peak hunger periods, January, February, March. And what we are distributing as 2.7 is really the peak hunger period for the season that was there 2022-2023. Yes. Taronga kuti pana January na February na March vanhu vane nzara yakakura kupfuura mimwe mwedzi. Pakati pegore apa muna 2023 tatichiwana dzimwe nzvimbo dzatichiti isu kuno kwedu kwava nenzara kana kwava nezhara tichitumira, but muna January to March tinoziva kuti ipa ndio panenge pava nenzara yakakura kupfuura mimwe mwedzi yese. Saka hurumende ine chirongwa chokuti ivone kuti pamwedzi iyoyo vanhu vatichabatsira vakakura sei. Izvi kuti tizviwane, pane paitiwa research, pane paongorogwa neFood Nutrition Council iri kuoffice kwaPresident neCabinet inotungamirwa naDr. Kembo, vachishanda namaministries ese, vachishanda nema-NGO nama-UN system, ndo vanhu vakazobuda nefiga yokuti tichange tine vanhu vanofana kubatsirwa vanosvika 2.7 million. Ndo vetinoda kuti tibetsere. District rimwe nerimwe tinechiziva kuti uku kune nzara yakawanda sei, uku kune nzara yakawanda sei. Although munyika iri 26%, but ukaenda kunana Binga munenge muchinobetsera 62%, mukaenda kwakasiyana siyana munonobetsera zvakasiyana siyana nokuti kuna kufanana. Saka ndo kubetsera kwachaita. Isu sehurumende tichabetsera madistricts 56, asi maripo mamwe madistrict 4 atakatenderana navavo vanotibatsira veWorld Food Program, vachibatsirwa namamwe madonors avo, madonors anotipa muno muZimbabwe, vachaita madistricts 4. Madistricts iwo 4 takatenderana kuti uku ndo kwamuchaenda, mazita avo mungapiwa nadirector kuti kuchaitwa neWorld Food Program, kuchaitwa nesu ndokupi, percentages okuti uku, as I say, Kubinga for instance is 62%, while in the country is 26%. So kana toenda Kubinga, isu gore rino tisi tinoenda Kubinga, tinoenda kunanambire, sehurumende tinechiziva kuti vanhu vanofana kubatsirwa vakawanda sei. Isu sehurumende kana tichipa president vanotiudza kuti hapana nzvimbo, hapana musha womunosiya iwo nenzara. Saka hatigoni, hatifaniri, and hatitendekwi kuti tinonyima munhu nenyaya yokuti unopinda bato rokuti kana kuti bato rokuti. Tinopa munhu wese weZimbabwe unenge ane nzara. Kana une zhara tinonyanyisa kupa futi. Tapedza. Okay, thank you.